That's true. I don't talk about them too much on the show. Maybe I should, but I would never come on here and say to you, just take this combination of supplements and your depression is going to get much better. I wouldn't be on the air. I wouldn't last one day. First of all, I'd get arrested from practicing medicine. I couldn't do it. I'm just a mere PhD trying to get along here. And even if I were a physician, I wouldn't do it. And I have friends who are therapists and do this for a living. And I hear the stories about their patients. It's difficult work, man. It's very difficult. Treating the flu treating schizophrenia is galaxies away from treating a cold or virus.
Okay.
Virus, rather.
I have a quiz for you because you do me and Steve a quiz. Kendall Jenner, Adele, Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, Dakota Johnson, Emma Stone, Carrie Fisher, Lady Gaga, Kerry Washington, Selena Gomez, Princess Diana, Prince Harry. What do they all have in common?
Well, I know. Well, there's a couple in there that I happen to know because I read about them. I know they suffer from depression.
They also Brooke Shields,
clinical depression. It is common. It is not uncommon. It's probably in the world of psychotherapy, it's probably one of the most. If I dare say, I haven't looked at that. I bet it's one of the most common ailments, psychological, mental conditions that it's treated. Gary told me he looked up and he said there's about 45 to 50 different antidepressant drugs out on the market. And it's tough. So I said my piece about it. Maybe it went too long, but I had to make a point. Please don't expect supplements to do things. We're not talking about Moses parting waters here, people walking on water, and whatnot. That's not going to happen. Supplements have their place, but they're never going to prevent depression. Prevent, no less. I thought they were just going to say, well, maybe it made them feel a little better. No, man, they were trying to prevent it because these people were overweight and obese, and people who are overweight and obese tend to suffer from depression. And when the study started, those people were not depressed. But by the end of the study, I guess there was a certain percentage became depressed, and they found that the supplements didn't help at all. I'm shocked.
You're correct.
What?
Top 5 most common mental illnesses: depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, and dementia.
There you go. Yeah. And I know many of you out there are, coping and trying to deal with depression. And I know it's difficult. As I said, I had a family member who suffered from it. It's tough stuff. We'll come back. I'll shift gears, and we'll get into something else.
Feel tired, lethargic, or irritable?
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Sort of staying in the same vein, those people in that study that was published in JAMA would have been better off doing some mindfulness training to treat depression than taking a combination of zinc, fish oil, folic acid, and selenium. This is a great study. This one comes. I'm impressed. Was a study on mindfulness was found to improve mental health of students. Now it turns out that students are more at risk. It's interesting. Mental health among university students can be improved in practicing mindfulness. Mental health. They're just more at risk for feeling depressed and, not doing well psycho-emotionally. It can be very stressful to be a student. Lots of pressure, a lot of evaluation, performance, right? Expectations, mom and dad, everybody's expecting you to do well. Some of these youngsters go off to college, they're young adults. You think, well, they just have to suck it up. Well, yes, I taught for a long time, and sometimes the professors are insensitive to, how difficult it can be. They forgot how it is, what it's like to be a student. But nevertheless, in this study, it was published in Education Research International, they wanted to measure how effective mindfulness-based training, cognitive therapy, could be with the students. Now, the recent evidence suggests that university students, as I was suggesting, are more likely to develop mental health problems when compared to the general population. It's true. The University of Bristol did the study and aimed to establish whether mindfulness training could be effective at improving mental health and well-being in medical students, where there is a tremendous amount of pressure, who are really at risk for developing any kind of stress-related illness, depression included. They recruited 57 medical students who had been referred to a mindfulness group by either their general practitioner or student advisor. It was an 8-week program, 8-week mindfulness program that they were engaged in. The students were required to attend a training for 2 hours each week and to commit 30-minute daily home practice in between sessions. So they had to make a commitment. The training, which took place between autumn of 2011 and spring 2015, so it was a long period of time, taught these medical students how the mind works, how stress impacts a person's life, and an awareness of stress triggers and signs of stress symptoms, coping techniques, meditation practice, and the importance of self-care. So this was a very comprehensive, fulsome program. At the end of each program, students completed a survey that included a free text response, they said. The researchers also conducted 6 qualitative interviews lasting anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. Here's what the students reported. They said that the mindfulness training went further than learning a set of tools for coping with emotional difficulty. The students described improved empathy, communication skills, when with patients through their newly learnt ability to notice their own thoughts and feelings. These were medical students. Medical students reported an improved ability to manage their workload better, as well as a new ability to notice automatic judgmental thinking without identifying these thoughts. Students described how mindfulness had helped them enhance their relationship to learning by using mindfulness practices to refresh and regain concentration during long days of study, as well as using mindfulness practices to steady themselves during stressful situations in clinic or during exams, close quote. That study that they did where they use supplements to treat these people with depression, they would have been better off to do this kind of study to see if mindfulness would be effective in treating people with clinical depression or to help prevent it in people who are overweight or obese, which they did in that study that failed with the supplements. I'm a big fan. Mindfulness works. I know it works. Researchers concluded that more research is needed, but these findings suggested to them that mindfulness training had helped students at Bristol reduce anxiety, excessive worry, negative thought patterns, and improve resiliency to stress, as well improve emotional well-being and professional development, close quote. I like that. Now that makes sense to me. Now, if you want to add some nutritional support to that, you could. There would be a constellation of supplements that you could include that would make people, have better nutritional status, that would be directed at better cognitive functioning and so on, and just keeping their nutritional status optimal. But to say that, to do a study and say we're going to give them these combination of supplements and it's going to prevent them to help, and they hypothesize that it will prevent depression in overweight and obese people who are not yet depressed, is ridiculous. And that line in Godfather, and I don't like to look ridiculous. Do you remember that line?
Yes.
And he cut his horse's head off. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. As I said, we had an email, a text message from somebody, right, Gary?
Yes.
The woman that I don't think we have permission to read it, but she was describing how even her own family members, she had a difficult time. She suffered from depression. And they were giving her, very close family members. Brother and father? Was it a brother and a
father and sister?
Yeah, what? Making fun of her or whatever they were doing, giving her a hard time? And she suffered. Finally, she said,
To biscuits with them,
right. So I know there are people out there listening and watching this show. If you're suffering from depression and you haven't received any kind of medical help, you should. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's a health issue, man. Just like having a cold or anything else, it's a health issue. We'll come back at the top of the hour. Mr. Hochek will be along. Are you tired of being tired? So was Amanda until she tried Floradix Iron.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Andrew Hochek's going to be joining us in this half hour. I think here comes Doc. Had to deal with the copy machine, weren't you? Don't forget to join.
No, I wasn't. I was talking to somebody. They're doing screening here, and they're checking them. They do, the medical facility comes and they draw blood and they check their blood pressure, and everything, and it's part of their medical insurance. So I was down there and I walked by and they were asking me, Doc, what about this? What about that? What should I look? So, yeah. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thank you, Gary. It's rude to walk away from them. They're asking you questions, and I got to go on here. I got to go on the air. But it's great to be with you. We're always ready to, how can I say, help make change and to introduce ideas that perhaps could have a significant bearing on your health, wellness, and well-being in some form or fashion. The first part of the show today, I talked about a theme that I typically don't, and I should. It was a mental health issue, mental health theme, and I built the theme on a study that failed, where they tried to use dietary supplements to prevent depression, no less, in people who are overweight or obese. And they used a combination of supplements, omega-3 fish oil, fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, selenium, and folic acid. And I have no clue what that combination, what they expected it to do. I just don't know. And it failed miserably. And they published it in the Journal of American Medical Association. As I said, there are drugs that are in trials right now, clinical, that fail every day. Every single day. No, you'll never hear about it. Boy, do a study with a supplement and it fails, and it's headlines. Supplements don't do this. Supplements don't do that. Well, of course they don't. They do many things, but they're not going to prevent depression, man. And I read the criteria in the first hour. There are 8 of them. And if you have 5 of the 8, you'll be diagnosed with clinical depression. And they're serious criteria. Everything from suicidal ideation to, not being able to eat and overeating, undereating. I mean, it's serious stuff. Mental health problems, and we had somebody sent us a message over Facebook, and she was describing she suffered from depression. Even her own family members didn't understand it, gave her a hard time about it. It's like people are embarrassed or ashamed. You shouldn't be. And mental pain and suffering is just as painful and difficult as any physical suffering people have. And then you can have both at the same time. So if you do suffer from, anxiety, depression, and other mental conditions, do not be ashamed. Do not be reluctant to go and get medical treatment. And if your insurance pays for it at work, by God, use it. Andrew Hochek is our guest today. And Andrew hasn't been on for a while. I wonder where he's been. He's been traveling around. I'm a working man. I know he's with New Chapter. He's an educator for New Chapter. We always enjoy having Andrew on. I'm going to bring him on right away here and see what's going on with this guy. Andrew, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you on.
Good morning, Dr. Garko. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you today? You're not in Vermont or any place like that, are you?
No, I'm actually, I was at the Natural Products Expo. I got back a couple days ago. I'm home right now, but I'm going to be heading down towards your neck of the woods here in the next day or so.
Oh, well, you're always welcome to come by the studio. You don't have to be you don't have to be a guest. Come on in. We'll love to see you anytime.
All right, sounds good. If I'm in the neighborhood, I'll definitely stop by.
We're in Tampa. You've been here before. I met you here.
I have, yeah. When the weather's cold up here, that's where I go. I come down to Tampa. It's really nice and warm there in the winter.
By the way, I bumped into Paul Schulich.
Oh, did you?
I did.
How's he doing? How is
he's doing wonderfully. I was sitting and I had my headset on. I said I need to sit down for a moment or two, and I had my back to. I went to the press room, media room, and I was sitting there. I had my headset on, and I heard this voice, and I kept hearing. I said, "My God, I know that voice." And I turned around. It was Paul, and he was talking to a group of people. And he stopped, and I turned, and he recognized me, and he stopped. He stood up and embraced me and asked me. I mean, I felt so self-conscious. I mean, he stopped his lecture. It was so good to see him. He's doing great. He's doing well. He's a good man. He's a good man. I really like Paul a lot. So he was a good colleague of yours, right?
Yeah, he was for just almost 20 years.
Oh, my land.
I learned a lot from him. He just had so much to offer, just a wealth of knowledge. He's not just one of those people that studies about nutrition and
herbs,
biology and healthy lifestyle. He lives it.
He lives it. Oh, I know. And, I dig that. I love that. Let me ask you, what was your impression of the Nat Expo West? What did you notice? Did you notice anything?
I noticed that I got really tired by the end of the first day.
Yeah, I walked by your booth. You were awfully busy in there.
I'm so sorry I missed you. I was really busy. We had some great new products to share with people that we're launching. It was busy. There was just a lot of buzz, and just I would say I think that there was more people. I was there Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
I think there was more people there than usual.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about. I want to hold your thought. I want to ask you about it. And I made an observation. I want to see if you agree. But I want to go to Soldertown. We have a caller. Bob, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hello, Dr. Garko.
Hi.
Very important subject that's been close to my heart for maybe 60 years or more.
Depression.
I was first diagnosed schizophrenic just short of my 20th birthday.
Oh, my.
I've been through many different kinds of treatments. I won't go through all of them because they're pretty horrific. But anyway, one thing that I think is important for your viewers and listeners to know is that there's an organization called Recovery Incorporated.
Okay.
And it's based on a similar basis to what Bill W. did with Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh.
It's an organization that is patient-driven. It was founded by Dr. Abraham Lowe back in the 1930s. And Dr. Lowe was frustrated with the inability of psychoanalysis to get patients recovered. So this was his attempt to get patients to be able to do with self-help through tools that he gave us to overcome our difficulties with depression and the various mental disorders. Well,
first of all, I so much appreciate you calling the show. I would ask if you just could hold on. We get on the other side of these messages. I'm so feel privileged that you would call and share that, and we'll get back to Bob, and we'll get back to Andrew Hochek. Be right back. Rich. And Andrew is an educator for New Chapter, one of the best, among the best supplement companies on the planet. They've been around a long time and have led the way in dietary supplementation. It's from an herbal standpoint, among the best of the best. So Andrew's here today, and before we went to message in that last block, right toward the end, I took a call from Sautertown, Pennsylvania, and Bob lives there. Bob, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Again, I'm very privileged that you would call the show and share your diagnosis. You said you were diagnosed with schizophrenia right before you turned 20, and I guess they died. When did you get diagnosed with clinical depression?
Well, I've had various diagnoses since that schizophrenia diagnosis, bipolar disorders, passive-aggressive situations, and
are you on
obsessive-compulsive situations.
Oh, wow.
I've had, I don't know how much of what my treatments have been that you want to hear about.
Well, I'm curious. I'm just curious. They put you on medications, I'm sure, throughout the years. Yes.
Oh yes.
Are you on medication now?
No.
You're not. Really? Wow. That's an achievement.
As I say, I have basically Recovery Incorporated to thank for.
And I'm so glad. Would that be recoveryincorporated.com? Could people find them that way? Gary, check and see.
I don't know for sure, but I think that would be a place to start. Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, I didn't know about that. And when people call and share that kind of insight, such as you did, that's very helpful for others. I know you must have had there's no doubt, you've had a lifetime of battling all of these things. And I know Hollywood has tried to address some of these issues. Sometimes they do it well, sometimes they don't. Just as a sidebar and real quickly, did you happen to see the movie A Beautiful Mind?
I did.
And what did you, in a word?
Mathematician from Princeton?
Yeah. Did you think that they did it well? Did it capture sort of what goes on?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are many different, what should I say, ways for people to experience this disorder.
Yeah.
And let me just, if I may just say that when you have a breakdown, it works the same way as an electric circuit works. If you get an overload, the circuit breaker breaks.
I see.
And when you have an overload in your nervous system breaks down. And it's a self-preservation that you're trying to preserve the body and the mind from becoming completely destroyed.
Well, listen.
The problem,
I didn't mean to cut you off. We're running out of time, but I just first of all, again, I from the bottom of my heart, thank you for calling and sharing this. I could talk to you for an hour, and I would hope that you would call me back someday when I'm on solo. You can call this show anytime you want, and I would love to speak with you. You're the first person in a long time to call this show to share that kind of experience, and you've done a lot of good today by calling and sharing your experience and giving us the information about Recovery Incorporated. So thank you again, Bob, and I hope I speak to you soon again, okay?
Continue good health to you.
Thank you so much. Our thoughts are with you, and thank you, and you have great courage. Appreciate it. Andrew, welcome back to the show. I had to speak with him. People are afraid to call the show and speak about mental disorders and mental health issues, Andrew, because people get so stigmatized, in our society. So that was an opportunity to sort of, try to make a contribution to help that situation a bit. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem.
So I noticed at the trade show the theme of plant-based seemed to dominate. Everybody's now into plant-based this and plant-based that. I said to Gary, pretty soon they're going to have plant-based shoes, which would be hemp.
Yeah.
Did you notice that, or didn't you have a chance to walk around?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more focus on plant-based nutrition. It almost seems like, vegetarian, vegan kind of themes seem to be coming back. They were always there, but coming back really strong. What's very interesting is, one of our products, Bone Strength Take Care, we were talking a lot about, just where people, I was talking with a customer about where people are getting their sources of calcium. And one of the things that one of our customers shared with me was that they're seeing, actually two of our customers, was that they're seeing a very strong increase in sales on plant-based milks. So the dairy alternatives, like your almond milks, your pea protein milks and stuff like that. So so I agree. Yeah, that's it seems to be something that's in vogue. People are learning more about it, and a direction people are going into for nutritional support.
Yeah, I use almond milk. I like it. They've figured out how to make these products taste better. Back in the day, some of these products, just dreadful. To be honest with you, they were horrible. Tasted horrible. You really had to be motivated. Now they have figured out, in science of nutrition, they have figured out how to make these products very tasty and pleasant to drink and healthy without contaminating the product with all kinds of chemicals that you can't even pronounce. We'll come back. We're going to continue our conversation with Andrew Hochek, educator for New Chapter. And again, I want to extend my deepest thanks to Bob for calling. It takes courage to call a show and talk about those issues. Back, welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Andrew Hochek is my guest today. Andrew's educated for a new chapter. Andrew, welcome back. What did you have on your mind today?
Well, we were talking a lot about mental health and issues with mental health. One of the biggest challenges, of course, is stress for Americans. There was a report from the American Psychological Association. They said that 44% of Americans reported suffering from moderate to high stress. So it shows you what kind of world we live in with so many of the demands that we have, work and travel, and just dealing with just so many of the challenges that we do every day, health and otherwise. So it's a big issue, and if you take a look at Centers for Disease Control, they actually listed, numerous health challenges that stress can contribute to, such as increased body fat, high blood pressure, heart problems, sleep disruption, bone loss, immune dysfunction, impaired cognition, low mood, aging of the skin. I mean, that's just, that's the top of the list there. So it's a big issue, and it's one that I think, people struggle with, trying to search for solutions and answers, and, not one size fits all. So, people, so I think there's things out there that people can do. So New Chapter has some things that, we might be able to offer. But, main thing is getting that under control, just because of the impact it has on our overall health.
And the herbs that, the formulations that you've put together are found in which products here?
So there's one particular product that's called Holy Basil. And one of the things that it was shown to have ability to do in studies, the actual herb, if you look at the research on it, is help to modulate cortisol activity in the body. And so if you take a look at stress, the whole, that's a flight or fight response that people are dealing with. One of the hormones that gets elevated very high is this cortisol hormone. So that's the one that they're finding is, related to a lot of these health challenges, a lot of the symptoms that people feel when they're stressed out, the tightness, the agitation, the rapid heartbeat and so forth. And then it's also been the one that's been linked to causing fat. You hear a lot about stress and weight gain. It actually has been shown to slow fat metabolism and increase fat deposits around the midsection. So Holy Basil, according to research, has that particular, those chemistries, natural chemistry, been shown to help modulate cortisol levels in the body.
As a matter of fact, yesterday I was watching a video on cortisol and cortisol patterns when people are under stress. And your cortisol should be higher in the morning and then dissipate. The normal cortisol pattern is high in the morning, and then by evening, by midnight, it should be at a low period. And people don't realize how building up an inventory of cortisol can be a sleep disruptor among many things. It's one of the stress hormones and cortisol is necessary. You just need to keep it in range. But there are different patterns. I mean, cortisol can be high and low throughout the day. It could go up and down, or it can be flat all day, or it can be high all day. There are many different cortisol patterns. And I just happened to be looking at that yesterday and focusing on that all this week in this one course that I'm taking on nutritional assessment, and we're looking at stress and its effect on, the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, and their role and function as well. So it gets complicated, Andrew.
Yeah, yes, it does. And I think, the biggest challenge is just with society as it gets more fast-paced, as there's more responsibilities. I think that there's just a lot of people that are searching out there for solutions. So it's important. It's one of the cornerstones of what our, medical establishment has been looking at, with a lot of the health conditions that, I had mentioned.
So Holy Basil, it tends to moderate cortisol levels. I mean, is it an adaptogen? If it's too high or if it's too low? How does that work? Do you know?
Yeah, just from all the research that's out there, it seems that it works as an adaptogen, correct. So if it's too high, there's been studies that showing that it could reduce cortisol. If it's too low, same thing, helps it to stay in a healthy range. That's the way it works. There's also been some really good research that it has blood glucose, modulating effects. So same thing. If it's a little bit too high or a little bit too low, it helps to promote keeping it within a healthy range in the body. So it has a twofold benefit. It's also really fantastic, as studies show, as an anti-inflammatory. So it's one of the, we've talked about xyphamin before, one of the herbs in there is holy basil. So it is multitasking. It has that adaptogenic effect according to the research that you were talking about. But as far as, as stress goes, it seems to most affect that cortisol, which gives you that tension, that fight or flight kind of a response.
Yeah, well, that is the stress response. When we talk about stress, it's not some abstract concept. This is a real biochemical reaction, and it has served us well throughout our evolution. Holy basil is also known as Tulsi, Tulsi, not to be confused with Tulsa, and its therapeutic power. The use of holy basil goes back 2,000 or 3,000 years. This is ancient Indian culture medicine, Ayurvedic. This is not unknown to that particular paradigm, and it's widespread therapeutic use. Holy basil leaves are now regarded as, by most countries, as I said, as adaptogens, these anti-stress agents. So, there is science to support it, not only the use in cultures, Andrew, but the science of herbs and herbology, of course, has established the legitimacy of such a compound. Some people they say, well, it can't do much. Here is where, you can use herbs to help with better management of these more psychological, emotional related kinds of issues. So this is a good idea. Holy Basil Force. You still there, Andrew?
I'm here.
Okay, good. New chapter, Holy Basil Force. It's newchapter.com, right?
That's correct.
All right, we come back. We'll continue our conversation. And we're talking with Andrew Hochek, educator for New Chapter, talking about stress. It doesn't escape anyone. Stress is a natural, there are stressors. Stressors in the environment are a natural condition of modern life. They've been a natural condition of life at any time. Our ancient ancestors were not without stress. Try hunting and gathering all day and being chased by animals that want to eat you. Try that out for size. Right? None of the conveniences of modern life. You think they didn't have a stressful life? No, it wasn't quiet and serene and peaceful. Humans have always had to cope with stress. That's why we have the stress response, too. We'll be back. do this every day around this time. Right answer, you win a $25 supplement gift card. There's no escaping it. Stressors are everywhere. The stress response is within you, and you can either react to things or you can respond to stressors. That's a choice you can make, and you have to work at that. You don't want to just react, you want to respond, and you don't control stress, you manage it. And what is it that you're managing? You're managing your response. Oftentimes, there's nothing you can do about the stressor. It could be traffic in front of you. There's nothing you can do about that traffic. It can be any number of things. A terrible air flight, turbulence. You talk about stressful. You can't control that. You just buckle up and hold on, right? So you manage your response. The American Psychological Association every year publishes their Stress in America report, and every year they feature different themes. But along the way, they reveal statistics about the prevalence of stress and how much people experience it. In this one study, they were able to, their focus was on trying to calculate or figure out how much stress people were experiencing and to what extent. Did they say in this one study, in terms of experiencing moderate to high stress levels in the past month, they asked a question like that. What percent of people said that they had experienced moderate to high stress levels in the past month? 25%, 50%, or 75%? What percent of people said they had experienced stress from moderate to severe in nature over the past month? 25, 50, or 75%? By the way, 50% of people in that study reported that their stress had increased over the past year. All right. Here's the number to call to be a winner.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
So my point, here's a hint. Stress levels were high. Andrew, welcome back. The downstream or the cascading effects of stress are so manifold. The list is endless. Its effect on the thyroid glands, its effect on the adrenal glands, and when those two, when you look at the hypothalamus and that whole HPA axis, all that. When you get into it, it's very complicated, but things can go sideways, and it's hard. It's not so easy to get things back into balance or homeostasis, but a compound or an herb such as holy basil can help a little, right?
Yeah. What's nice about an herb like is there's not, a lot of, information out there indicating that it would make you feel drowsy. So sometimes, when you look at, over-the-counter remedies or other products out there, they can have a drowsy effect. So you don't want that. But yeah, so holy basil could be a good choice if somebody's looking for a natural solution to help manage stress, as you were talking about. The other thing that's a really big challenge is with sleep. They actually found that, 30% of adults, NIH reported, they only get about 6 hours of sleep, every single night. And it's recommended that you get between 7 and 8 hours of sleep. So part of what contributes to people's stress is just not sleeping very well. And so the other challenge that you have is you have a lot of people, particularly with arthritis. About 80% of people with arthritis or inflammatory issues don't sleep very well. So, New Chapter, came out with a product called Turmeric Nighttime.
Turmeric Nighttime, right?
Yeah, it's called Turmeric Nighttime. Yeah. So to address that specific natural, to address naturally that specific, challenge when it comes to stress, when it comes to the insomnia aspect of it, we have a complex there which does have, certain herbs in there which have shown to help promote, healthy relaxation effects. Herbs such as chamomile, hops, lemon balm, and valerian.
Oh, yeah.
Complex with turmeric as well, yeah. So So that would be, I think, one of the additional, challenges that, if somebody is dealing with a lot of stress, they're not managing very well, it's affecting their sleep, could be another particular natural product, solution to look at.
Well, it turns out there's an interdependent relationship between stress and sleep, and that is high cortisol levels building up through the course of the day because that stress response, the switch is left on. You can't sleep. Not getting enough sleep increases the stress levels for you, your perceived stress. So it's a vicious cycle. You're not getting enough sleep, and you feel more stressed. You get more stressed, you can't sleep. You can really get, you really can get viced in, and you don't know which way to turn. So taking turmeric nighttime along with holy basil, you're trying to get yourself. It can help. Those herbs can help at least try to get you back to balance. They don't cure anything, but they can help the body establish homeostasis. I was sharing with the audience in the first hour today, this study was just published in JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, very prestigious journal, a study on using supplements. It was omega-3 fatty acids, selenium, what else was it? Folic acid, and zinc, those four. And they said, well, the supplements failed. They didn't prevent stress in people who were overweight or obese compared to a placebo. Andrew, what were they thinking? There's nothing about those particular supplements in my mind, individually or in combination, that would prevent stress. But compounds, turmeric nighttime, for example, that product, and holy basil, they can go a long way in helping people do better psycho-emotionally in managing stress and so on. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, Andrew. Let's go to Brandon. Connie, what's the answer?
Oh, 75%?
Yeah, 75% of people said that they reported moderate to high levels of stress in the past month. That's according to the APA, American Psychological Association. Yes, thank you. Congratulations, you're a winner. Andrew, thank you. I'm sure you're managing the stress, right?
I sure am. Work on it daily.
You have to. Well, I wish you I wish you the best, and we'll look for you next time. And go to newchapter.com. You can read about holy basil there. You can read about turmeric nighttime and any of the wonderful other supplements from New Chapter. Herbally based company, herbal based formulations. They have for many, 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 many years. Your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those that care about and love you.
Everyone's raving about the newest botanical super